good, tough game. That game revolved around the guys coming out of the bullpen on point and doing what they needed to do and executing. There was no margin of error. Neither team was really picking the ball up. There was some awkward. This is an interesting time of day. The 5 o'clock game, the shadow, the sun. It was just tricky. I don't think either team was picking it up real well. And our pitchers executed and did a great job. I thought, Loud this was new to him, and he didn't look as comfortable as I've seen him. There are days when he's thrown against our team that it's been noticeably tough to hit. And he still survived, but it wasn't as loud. There's days it's loud, there's some velo, and that breaking ball's got some bite to it. He survived. I thought Noah, it felt like for some reason that early in that game we needed Noah to come in and get us some key outs because they seem to have the momentum. So that's why we did that instead of maybe hanging on to him today a little for later in the game. He did a nice job, and you can go right through it. Rowan was sharp, had some good stuff, better than his last outing. That was good to see. Joe got the punch out. Ox got the punch out, and Abraham did his thing. There's some pieces of that have to be better. We talked about it already. And then Dorsey, it was a nice ending. I thought he was very crisp. The velocity looked good. He threw a couple good breaking balls. And it's a good, solid win. Offensively, there are moments of that game we had some opportunities to do some things that people probably don't notice we even had the chance to actually do. So I was disappointed in some of the moments to have some executional things happen. But the guys dug deep when we needed to. Lodi's the walk. Max, not an effective bunt, clearly, but we still get Cam up there, and he has a huge at-bat for us. Max, first to third, good play. And to have Tibbs where he got a ball that he could hit and hit it hard. Sometimes in the game, that is all it takes, and that's what it took today. So it was nice to get those guys up there and to see them focused in those moments. Defense solid, but clearly this revolved around pitch execution and a variety of guys coming in. And we had some matchups that lined up. It doesn't always line up that you can have the matchup opportunity. We were fortunate today that it did, but the guys delivered. The pitchers have to deliver, and they executed. It was good. Micah called a great game. Jackson caught well. It's a solid win. There are moments you wish you had more offensively, no doubt. But there have been days the offensive piece has carried us, and today it was the pitching and some timely offensive stuff late.
Have you ever had one of those full staff kind of days go as well as today did, and execution as well as today?
Not that I recall. No, to have a shutout by that many pitchers and 3 freshmen involved in that, I think, and Joe hasn't had a chance to throw a lot in his career. Well done. And Dorsey, it was neat to see him close. We don't always have the luxury of having a set closer to try to finish a game. I mean, you see that in the major leagues a lot, but that was a neat opportunity to actually do just that. And he was on point with his warm-up to get to that moment. If we had gotten muddied up in the 8th, we may have grabbed him, but we didn't. And it lined up for him to have kind of a 1-inning save moment. It was neat.
You mentioned the freshmen. How important was this experience for them, wanting to kind of come into their own, and what do you think of them, starting them off?
Well, overall, the experience is great, and it just adds to their data of what this feels like down the road. Lauk's better than what we saw today. It's not that he got banged around we've seen it better. And I think the opportunity in wanting to do so well, I think it got to him a little bit, and he wasn't as crisp and as aggressive as we've seen it. He's not an aggressive, loud guy, but the stuff is aggressive. So, okay. Rowan continues to get better. That's 93, 4. I don't know how high it got. And his breaking ball's tough. And with the shadows and whatnot today, you saw some really weird swings on both sides. at some of the breaking pitches. So good. And Johnny Abraham has a good breaking ball. So you like them when they get a chance to face the matchup, the breaking pitch to line up with what you see with the matchup. And I thought it did today out of the freshmen. So great experience and really well done on their part.
Kind of along those lines, do you think you'll keep having a bullpen game during these midweeks, or have you decided about having a set starter on a Tuesday yet? I know we're asking like every week, but
I mean, in a perfect world, you have 4 starters, but I mean, I've been on some really effective teams that sometimes you don't have 3 starters on the weekend, not to mention what you're doing on Tuesday. So this is okay, and it allows guys an opportunity to stay fresh. Sometimes when you get through the weekend, you have to see what the most logical thing is, and are you comfortable enough holding an effective arm out in hopes that that gets you 6 innings on Tuesday? I just don't know if we're there yet. We did not want to use Armstrong today. Ben Barrett will be back in this shortly. So it may get to that. In the back of my mind, I hoped Lauk had done what we'd seen in our scrimmages. But again, he's coming off an injury in high school, didn't finish his senior year, no throwing this summer, none in the fall. So his preseason is the first time he's actually pitched. So the newness of that, I think he's still on the front end of that learning curve. So we're not there yet. Will we get there? Maybe. I don't think we're there yet.
It hasn't been many times this year where this team has really struggled to produce base runners. Just what was the vibe like in the dugout? How do you think they handled kind of this weird game, as you mentioned, where maybe shadows weren't exactly in their favor, weird swings and all that? How do you think they just handled it today?
Well, they're fighting through it. Like, they know what their capabilities are, and I may be frustrated or disappointed, but imagine what it's like knowing individually what you're capable of doing up there and not really being able to execute it. I never felt like they were unsettled to the point of failure to defend or failure to run the bases. I just think it was one of those days where you're fighting to just see the ball and adjust and take some tough pitches. That's just one of those games. That's why you need your pitchers to deliver, and you need to play timely defense. And when you get a moment to score without a base hit, you have to take advantage of that. And when the time presented itself, we did. So that's all you can ask, and you kind of close the books on this one and try to get ready for the weekend.
John's always had that ability to spin the breaking balls, but I think when they went to the pinch hitting left-handed hitter in the 7th, he got back-to-back swings and misses on the changeup. Just how big of strides have you seen from him since the fall?
Best I've seen his changeup was today. Really good. And when you're bringing him in to face the righties, he hadn't gotten to that one in a while for us. We'd seen it good, but I really thought it was as good or better than I'd seen it even in any of our scrimmage games. So nice. And he continues to learn what it feels like to throw a wipeout breaking ball. But it's got to continue to calibrate itself and get a little tighter and a little firmer, but good strides and good changeup today.
Dorsey's been in that 1-run 9th inning situation in back-to-back games, and he's only needed 18 pitches between the two of them to get it done. Just how big is that when he's not letting any traffic on base and just getting it over as quick as possible?
Man, it doesn't get any better. Like, it just compresses everything. Like, we need to keep those pitch counts for some of those guys. As the appearances mount, like, you need that pitch count to shrink. That's key. And we need it out of our starters too. He was great today. I thought he threw some really, of the pitches he threw, I felt like he executed basically all of them. That doesn't mean they're all strikes, but the execution and the precision of what he was doing, I thought was as good as we've seen it. And to limit the pitches, huge moving forward and coming off of what he did this weekend.